For today's artist journal page, we're going to be focusing on balance. So the first thing you need to do is have a title. You're going to write the word balance and then just add the definition. The definition is equal distribution of visual weight in a composition. I want to let you know that everything that I'm going to cover on this page is in the presentation that is provided to you in Google Classroom. You can go in that presentation and find definitions. So there's two definitions for each of the types of balance. There's a definition for this word balance. There's also going to be my finished example of this page and another found source that shows you visual examples of the different types of balance. Now that you have your title, balance, and the definition, this Genius Day assignment in your artist journal requires you to list the 3 different types of balance while also creating examples. Before I created my examples, the first thing I did was write down the 3 different types of balance along with their definitions. Again, you can find 2 different options for definitions in the presentation that was provided to you on Google Classroom, or you can Google your own definition, whatever is most convenient to you. So the first type of balance is symmetrical balance. It's based on a line of symmetry, meaning a line that separates a middle point. So it is evenly placed images on both sides of a midline. I'm going to create one example for symmetrical balance. You can also look at the 3 images that are provided in the presentation as other examples. Next, there's asymmetrical balance. This one can be a little tricky. It's not as easy as symmetrical balance. It's balanced by size and weight and variety of images, but it's not evenly based from the midline. What that means is that it's balanced. It can be balanced based on color on both sides. It can be balanced based on the number of things, but it's not perfectly even. It cannot be split down the middle in a way that if you folded it, it was identical on both sides. Last but not least, there is radial balance. Radial balance, you can think of it as circular balance. So it's repeated shapes and images evenly from a center point. They usually come out in a circular motion, whether it's like a flower or a mandala. Those would be things that have circular balance. After this, I'm going to create an example for each, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so for the symmetrical example, I'm actually going to do 2 of them. On a very simple example, like a very basic way, you could take a square. You could take a square and a circle. The circle, you just would want to split it down the middle. If you have a straight edge, like if you have a ruler or something, that would help. If you don't have a ruler, do your best to try to make a line that goes straight through the middle of your shape. This is your line of symmetry, okay? Same thing here. I could create a line of symmetry that goes straight through my square. You only need to do 1 example. I'm just showing 2. What this means, if I have to evenly place images on both sides of the midline, anything that I draw over here, so if I draw anything on this side, it also needs to be drawn on this side. You're not a robot, so of course it may not be literally perfect, but as best as you can, try to make it identical. You could always, if you want it, go back and color it in to make sure that it has symmetrical balance. Same thing here. Anything that I do, I need to act like a mirror. I need to mirror everything, okay? And that's what I'm trying to do as best as I can. Like I said, I'm not a robot, but I'm trying to get the general idea that there is a line of symmetry down the middle. So this would be symmetrical balance, evenly placing images on both sides of the midline. So next you would have asymmetrical balance. Asymmetrical balance is harder to achieve, but visually it's much more interesting. It's kind of tricky because I'm like holding my massive iPad and trying to draw. But I'm going to attempt to do some asymmetrical balance. There's honestly a lot of different ways you could do this. Remember, it's not based on a line of symmetry. You're just trying to make sure it feels like it's the same weight, all right? So you can use a variety of shapes and a variety of images that's not evenly based on this like imaginary line of symmetry, but you're trying to get a nice sense of weight. Remember, you can always go back and look at the presentation to see some examples for asymmetrical balance. I'm going to do a fairly basic one. I'm going to just draw some lines and shapes. I could draw a line here. And I could say, it feels kind of, so I've added weight here, all right? I've added weight to this corner. But I also may want to add weight in another area. So I'm going to add some more weight throughout my little piece here. You can also Google examples of asymmetrical balance if you want to do that. Now, moving forward, I want to make it feel like there's a nice amount of weight on every part of the piece, right? So here I could say, this feels the emptiest. I'm going to add a square. My square isn't perfect. That's fine. I want to add maybe a large circle. Is my circle perfect? No. I'm going to color it in to try to correct it. I could go in and add some small diamonds here. Remember, you're trying to see if it's evenly weighted. So I can say my eye starts here. Now it feels empty in this spot. And then what I could do here, if I really wanted for asymmetrical balance, I could add a combination of overlapping circles or shapes in this point here. For this one, because I would say it's the hardest to do, just practice. Just try something out. This corner feels a little empty. I'm going to color this one in to make it more neat. But I could say there's weight at the bottom and weight in both areas. So then it's asymmetrical balance. Okay, now, last but not least, I'm going to do radial balance. So I told you to think of radial balance almost like circular balance that comes from a center point, right? So it will be repeated shapes and images evenly from a center point. So instead of doing it symmetrical, it needs to be even, I would say, on 4 sides, not on 2 sides. So I already drew my middle dot. For radial balance, a trick would be to make 2 lines of symmetry. So you have a vertical line and you'll have a horizontal line. Like I said, mandalas are literally perfect radial balance, but they can be tricky to teach. So I'm not going to have you do it for our sketchbook page unless you already know how to do one. A very easy way to get radial balance will either be to draw a flower or pretend that you're drawing a flower. So here we go. I'm going to draw a circle. This circle falls into all 4 of my sections. So meaning I have a curved line. It's mirrored in 4 different areas. So it's radial. Next, I could, going from here, if I wanted, I could make a flower petal in this area. I have to make it in this area. So I have to do it in all 4 sections. Do it as best as you can. Like I said, you are not a robot. So unlike symmetrical balance, whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. For radial balance, whatever you do on one side, you do it in all 4. So you have to do it on all 4 sides. All right, so I'm getting some radial balance. It's coming out from the center point. I don't have to go too crazy with this. I'm going to add some triangles here. If it makes it easier, you even can like spin your paper around as you're drawing, like you're going in a circle, and that'll help you figure out. This can be something that's really tricky. We will talk about this in class more. I would say asymmetrical and radial balance are harder to do, but they're honestly much more interesting to look at. They're just better balanced when it comes to figuring out a composition. If I felt like the space was too open, I could add color or additional shapes that just has to be added in each quadrant, okay? In all four sides. So this is the finished version of my page. I did color in some of the things to make it just not as plain. I do think I could have done a better job on the asymmetrical portion, but I would say just if you need to refer back to this YouTube video, just start it over as many times as necessary, or just refer to the PowerPoint. This will definitely be in the PowerPoint along with other examples.